Thank you all very much. I need to thank my team for giving me this simple task of summarizing the day's discussion. So it went from a corporate setting where we had 4 panelists and we talked about the energy dilemmas. Then we had the students from the academic world come in and talk about the 2 scenarios that they have. And of course, then we see how all these play out in a theater, in a performance. So thank you all very much. And I thought a way for me to do this is, instead of having that lectern, is to sit here and chat to you about what I have observed the day. So Mr. John Abbott, our downstream director, opened, and he talked about the trilemma of for energy. So the dilemma of needing to provide more energy, and in the process of that, needing to also fuel growth in a competitive manner, and understanding and needing to address the energy stresses as well. We had the panelist, Mr. Mark, I don't see him here. I'm sorry. It's looking far and you're right in front of me. Mr. Mark Carrell-Billard, thank you for facilitating the panel session today. And Mr. Elvin Yeo from EMA, thank you. An excellent replacement for your CEO, Wai Chung. Mr. Ko Kong Meng from HP. And Mr. Visal Leng, GE. And of course, Mark Gainsborough, who was just appointed last year as EVP for New Energy. Thank you for all our colleagues for also coming here and supporting this event. And the students, when they gave us the scenario, it was amazing. It made us think about how different views could be. Makes us think about, as we think about, we put our desires and our needs and pair them together with the challenges that we're seeing externally, how the ideas could become very different. And the team who guided the students through the scenario have been very impressed with the output. And what I have been told, Doug was one of them, and I've been told that the quality of that output is as good as what Shell would have generated. So thank you, the students. They're not here, but well done. So we talked a lot about the fact that the world needs more energy, but we need it to be more, and we need it to be cleaner energy. So I don't want to belabor that point. But what I want to say is, as you listen throughout the morning, that this is an exceedingly complex problem. There are so many external factors to consider. There are so many emotional factors to consider. It is not going to be a simple solution. And that's why we believe events such as this, Powering Progress Together, and Make the Future, gives us the platform and the ability to bring people together with ideas, people with the bright ideas, for us to collaborate so that we can slowly but surely develop the solutions that's going to make a meaningful impact for this world that we live in. And I am a firm believer in curiosity, in using our imagination, in asking the questions, and at times the silly questions. And because I believe with that traits, with that curiosity, it will get us to a better place, it'll get us to a stronger solution. And I want to relate a story that was way back from 1903. And this is the story of Mary Anderson. Mary Anderson is from Alabama. She's a real estate agent. She decided to go to a real estate developer, actually. So the winter of 1903, she decided to go to New York. She wanted to do a tour of New York, hop onto a trolley car. It was wintry, it was cold. And she noticed that the driver occasionally had to go out and wipe the snow off the windshield of the trolley car. And occasionally, when that didn't work, he stuck his head out so that he got better visibility. So Mary went back and thought about this as a problem. How can she help this man? And she came up with this idea of a rubber blade that you put outside of the windshield, and then a gadget inside where he can turn it. You imagine in those days, you manually adjust it, and the wiper would clean the snow off the windshield. And so Mary invented the world's first wiper. And actually, it wasn't till much later, I think about 2 decades later, that it became a standard feature in a car. So my point here is it takes curiosity, it takes imagination, it takes some imagination as well. Mark earlier talked about solar PV. It was in space stations, in satellites 30 years ago, and now it's so easily accessible on our rooftop. And I want to aggregate what we have seen here in 3 segments. So first, Team Amber, this convergent and divergent scenario. And I was listening to them. I thought, I think most of you would have that situation. I have a son whose nose is stuck to the computer. And he doesn't socialize much. He does most of his socialization in front of the computer screen. So I think that must be a generation gap, because I believe in socializing outside. So I'm going to tell him that perhaps that's the world he's going to be, or he's living in, where he would have virtual reality girlfriends. And I thought he has to find new ways to make babies. So I think those 2 are very possible outcomes as well. And I think what we need is to all keep our minds open that those 2 scenarios could play out. And if we look at what the performance did, it actually could play out at the same time, depending on what our needs are. So we all know John talked about energy needs, and non-OECD countries will see the biggest spike in energy needs. John talked about 71%. And when you take it to the Asian context, that demand will be about 80% by the year 2040. And we imagine, right, all the examples that we have seen, all the things that we've talked about are all ideas that consumes energy. And we ask how much more energy we have. We saw this container of possibility, the home of the future, and they need energy, plus a lot of data as well. So how much more new energy do we need to power our homes? I think the answer is a lot. So we see, I get asked very often, why do you work for Shell? I said, I'm very proud to work for Shell because we can make meaningful difference with the work that we do. And oil and gas, so while we are all talking about renewables, it is my firm belief that oil and gas will remain a very important part of our mix. However, though, when we talked about the trilemma, it is very clear that that mix has to change and renewables will have to play a part. But I think as we listen to the conversation this morning, and as we listen to, I think it was Mr. Koh Kong Meng who talked about 3D printers. So imagine a world where you don't need to transport goods through airplanes, through cars, through trucks, through trains, through ships. You order the part and it just gets printed at a place near you and delivered to your doorstep. And so, as we think about the energy mix, that equation and the idea that was brought forward, that there are also ideas that is needed on how we use less. And so Mr. Kokoming talked about how we make products lighter, and when they are lighter, they are more energy efficient. And there are also materials that gives us energy efficiency. And also this fascinating ideas of a world where you can get whatever you want through a 3D printer next to you. So imagine the new business model for the likes of Federal Express and DHL and all those. Then we talked about innovation as well. And in order for us to, it was Mr. Alvin Neo and Yo and Mark Gainsborough who talked about how do we fuel innovation. Singapore will announce carbon tax. And in Shell, we have proposed that. So in Shell, we support carbon tax, or we support a form of carbon pricing. And it is our belief that this will spur innovation. This will generate an industry that will look at more solutions for more energy and cleaner energy. When you have the time, I believe we will do a tour right at the end of this session. And there are many exhibits out there. One of the exhibits I want to call out, there are a number, and one of them is this one from Motion Eco. Motion Eco was started by an entrepreneur in China that converts cooking oil into biofuel. Take the opportunity, this is just one of them. I wanted to just call one example out, but there are many other different ideas out there that we hope one day could become strong commercial solutions for the future in a world that needs more and cleaner energy. Let me talk about the other one that was quite deep-seated in, I would say, a problem in the region in terms of access to innovation. When we look out in Asia, every country is in a different state of development. We are very developed here in Singapore. My colleague from Myanmar was just sharing with us yesterday. In Myanmar, when they convert from the main grid to the alternate grid on renewable, you actually make a phone call to an operator, and the operator just manually make that switch. So this is how diverse we are, right? So in Singapore, we turn the switch on, then the light is there. Sometimes you don't even have to touch the switch. The light comes on as you walk in. And there are those who are tackling other problems as well, pollution problems, traffic problems, and there are others who are just finding ways to gain access to energy. So the problems are very diverse and very different. And according to IEA, 1/5 of the Southeast Asia population still do not have access to electricity. So as we make sure that we work through this energy transition, I think there are 3 factors that we need to look at: affordability, security, and sustainability. And this one around, how do we get innovation to drive cost lower that gives us access to energy? It is such an important problem for us to look at and solve. And this was the point that was made earlier by Elvin and Mark G. And I think companies like Shell and our partners who are participating with us, the Accentures, the HPs, the GEs, and many others, the Agility, we are in a position where we have scale, where we can work with the smaller companies, or we can work with the ones with ideas, where we can take these ideas and we can try them out, where more people can enjoy the benefits of this idea. And I want to just broach on the point of collaboration. When we talk about collaboration, Mark, you said it starts with education, that education is important. And we just saw the brilliant minds of our students as they think about the future and possible solutions for the future. So we need to get that curiosity and that imagination in our kids, in our children, in the younger generation, so that they can help us work out what are the solutions to power progress together. And Visa Ling make that point as well about working together. And Mark made this statement about there is no silver bullet. There is no single solution to solve the energy challenge, and we need to deploy everything in our kit. You know, when I look at the problems that are around us, sometimes the problem is really simple, but the solution is so complex. At times I wish I could send my brain for an upgrade, right? To ask for more MIPS so that we can think solutions to this problem, but that's not possible. That's why we truly believe that in order to power progress, we must all work together. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Swee Chen, for the very insightful summary. And again, thank you to everybody. We have been listening to you. We've captured it in different forms, media, and also a visual form, because visuals sometimes give us a very different perspective. The only thing missing right now, Swee Chen, is your summary, but it will be done. All right? In fact, we're going to give this summary to you over lunch, all right, as we finish it up. Tim over there is going to finish it up in a while. So these things are really to trigger our minds, to constantly remind us of the challenge. And as all of us agree, the solutions are not easy, right? And I'm going to take Swee Chen's point. Maybe the next time when I run something like that, I'm not going to ask for ideas. I'm going to ask for what new question are we going to ask? What different questions that we're going to ask? Because maybe with the different questions, it may lead us down a very different pathway, right? So on this note, lunch is next. So I'm going to give a couple of announcements. Lunch is in the Wood River room upstairs. You'll be ushered there. There are a few things that I need to bring to your attention. One is that, as we have said, listening to you is critical. We would like to listen to you and give us the feedback about this session. This is paramount, because feedback will just help us do better, all right? And that feedback form is in the lunchroom. So I ask for your cooperation to help us fill that up. The second thing, the Make the Future Festival is just here. You're very privileged that there will be VIP tours to guide you through that. And the VIP tours will begin at 1:30 sharp. There will be guides that will come into your lunchroom. They will gather you in groups, and then you'll bring you through the Make the Future Festival. What an opportunity for you to do that since you're here. And the last thing about lunch is enjoy. And have a chat, get to know people, and most importantly, remember this: cleaner, more, I've now learned a new word, more and cleaner energy moves Asia. It's difficult. There's no one silver bullet, but it begins with each and every one of us in our personal capacity and in the role that we make to take this movement forward. Thank you very much. Lunch, please.